Welcome to the Eagle Eye Podcast, the number one show to bring you all things Club América in English, from tactical analysis
Pelota para la banda izquierda.
to player updates. We've got you covered on all the latest news on Las Águilas. Now, let's start the show. This is the Eagle Eye Podcast.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the Eagle Eye Podcast. Today, we're going to be breaking down the terrible Campeón de Campeones loss that América had to Toluca at Dignity Health Sports Park. And then we'll talk transfer rumors because everyone seems to be up in arms about what's going to happen next with Las Águilas and América after that terrible showcasing that we had on Sunday's game. Of course, transfers are needed, but we'll talk to you guys a little bit more about our opinions and thoughts in regards to that aspect. And of course, we'll close out the episode with a preview against Necaxa, a very much needed victory needed here ahead of the Leagues Cup break as well. So a lot going on in the world of Las Águilas del América, and joining me today to do so, it is none other than everyone's favorite cowboy, Dylan Jimenez. Dylan, how you feeling, man?
Well, when it comes to America, not great, but I just think overall, in general, I'm feeling good. It's another day. It's technically my Thursday, of the work week. So, feeling good. Tomorrow's my Friday, so I'm looking forward to that. And everything's all good.
All right. Well, that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that on that aspect. You're doing well. And I hope everyone else listening to this is doing well, aside from America, right? And I hope everyone that's listening to this or watching this is here to kind of join in with the rage that we're going to have for the entirety of this episode. Because I don't think there's any other way to categorize this as a very raged episode. I don't even know where to begin, Dylan. That's the first. I don't know whether to begin at the beginning, at the middle, and the end. It's that frustrating. And I guess the only way I can categorize it, let's work our way. Let's start at the end and work our way back. América loses 3-1 at Dignity Health Sports Park in the Campeón de Campeones matchup, a game that we here on the podcast categorize as a must-win and probably the biggest trophy on the line this season aside from the league. Dylan, we've again have somehow managed to lose, and now this is the fourth consecutive important game that América loses. We go from losing to Cruz Azul in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. We go to losing to Toluca in the league final for a Tetra Campeonato. We lose out to LAFC in a FIFA Club World Cup playoff match. And now we lose to Toluca again for the Campeón de Campeones. I mean, there's no other way to categorize this than an epic failure, right?
Yeah, no, just very frustrating on around. And I want to make this kind of very clear too, because I kind of stand with Chris on this point. Yes, it is frustrating, but I still think the dynasty and what Jimenez has built still holds pretty tall. But with the way things are trending, it is worrisome because you worry about the future of this club. I mean, like you said, we'll talk about it too, especially when it comes to transfers. But, it just feels like it's a very, very, instead of just taking like a step back, and I've said it too in the past, before tournaments have started too, this team's going to show signs of regression. I think I said that before we even made the run for the third title, but yet we somehow still won it. And it just kind of, I think it also goes to show like who Jimenez is whenever he's getting the squad together. But now it's just like, I just feel like this team's done nothing but regress, and nothing's been done to compensate that regression and go toward the progression of this team, to keep it competitive, to keep it, on task, for title, and especially like kind of mentioned the loss against LAFC for a potential Club World Club spot. Those are things that, I think you worry about from a standpoint of the board. This board's doing team no favors at the moment. It's not doing Jimenez any favors.
Absolutely. And look, I'm all for taking one step back in order to take two steps forward. I'm 100% for that. But it just seems that lately we've been taking 3 steps back and 1 step forward, and we're not really progressing anymore. We're like you said, we keep going backwards rather than forwards. I get that not everything is going to be beautiful sunshine and rainbows in Club América land. It's just impossible, right? There's always going to be ups and downs, but this one seems to be a very, very heavy down. And it's been like that for the past couple of months. And honestly, before we start pointing fingers and starting to push the blame on, this player or that player or this board or this coach and this and that, I think we have to reflect on this and say, okay, did we come into this season with unrealistic expectations? This is something we talked about maybe a year ago when we were talking right after Bicampeonato, talking about like a potential tricampeonato, right? Are we coming into these seasons with unrealistic expectations? I don't necessarily think we are, but I do think as a fan base, we need to maybe, there's that word again, take a step back in order to kind of, all right, let's reset a little bit here and understand where the club is at, right? What we've seen unfold in front of us and make better judgments off of that, right? I get it. Everyone's calling for heads right now. Trust me, I was too at the end and I was at the stadium. So I feel the frustration. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying don't be mad. I think it's just we need to be reflective and realistic at the end of the day and be like, okay, what is the actual goals that America can attain? And what are we working for in order to better ourselves? And that's what we need to see through the entirety of the season. One thing that we need to take away from this is that, look, this is not the end of the season. This is not the league final. This is not, okay, now we're going on break type of stuff. Like, no, this is right at the beginning of the season. It's definitely a very, very bad bump on the road. But the only hindsight is, I guess there's nowhere else to go but up in the sense, if that's truly what this team is capable of doing. So let's talk about this game. Let's talk about how this match unfolded, and then we'll kind of delve into the rest. Dylan, this game started perfect. This game started...
You couldn't ask for a better start.
Absolutely could not ask for a much better start, and couldn't ask for a much better goal. I mean, Sendeja scored probably one of the best goals I've ever seen live in person. Like top 3. Absolutely top 3. And you're thinking, a minute in, already with a goal up, like everything's going the way it's supposed to be going, right? And you're thinking, what can go wrong? And apparently everything, Dylan. It was ridiculous. Like you felt the confidence that the players were playing with, and you felt how comfortable they were. And Toluca were non-existent in a sense, right? America dominated the ball. America understood their assignment. They got an early goal. They sucker punched Toluca. So now Toluca needed to go and, go away from their tactics, which was sit back and then exploit a counterattack. It was, okay, now I need to go press and I need to go push forward. And they did so. And a rebound, America didn't know how to clear the ball right. And Toluca equalizes just, what I want to say, 10 to 12 minutes later. And that was frustrating because the minute that goal goes in, you can already tell heads went down, Dylan. Heads absolutely went down. And they never came back up. And I feel like doubt started to creep in some of these players' mind. Doubt started to creep in. And because of that, you see the mistakes leading up to the second goal. Obviously, it comes off a corner kick, but Toluca had already won a corner kick. America did what they had to do, defended that, and it should have been cleared off by Borja, but he didn't do so. And then the second corner kick comes in, goal, header, and that was, I think, the sucker punch. Because America wanted to go into the half with that 1-1 draw, collect themselves, come out with a better plan for the second half. Now you're 2-1 down right at the end of the first half. Now you not only have to recollect yourself, now you have to come up with an idea to not only find another goal, but find a way to make the comeback. And I think it was a tall task for some of these players, which I think is the most worrisome part, Dylan, that in moments like this, we're not responding the way a championship side should.
Yeah, and I think we've seen that too before. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but within at least the past 3 seasons, we've seen even this, pretty much these same group of players even go down 1-0 and respond and get a goal, and sometimes even go on to get the win. If not, sometimes they could take the draw. But I think most of the time it was them going to get the win. So it just makes me think, what's changed for them to just, get, like you kind of mentioned, Ivan, get their head down, got in their head a little bit, and then just couldn't even find a rhythm yet again, to get back into the game. Because like I said, we've seen it before. It's just what has changed. It just seems like this team's two totally different teams than what we saw before, whether a team was equalizing or the team going down 1-0. But now, no response. That's what's crazy to me.
And look, this is me just speculating, but could it be that they know that they conceded and they know that they didn't have an answer for them going forward? Like, they didn't look at anybody out there on the pitch and say, you know what, I feel like we're still going to make the comeback regardless because we have X, Y, and Z up there. Maybe because when Henry was on the pitch and we were a goal down, we were always able to kind of rely on our captain and he'd be kind of, the rock and guide us through the hard moments. And maybe because we don't have a presence like that, right? No discredit to Fidalgo. I'm sure he's a good captain, but let's face it, the real captain in that dressing room is Henry. And I get Henry's on the bench and all that stuff, but it's different. You can lead from within the field or you can lead without, and it's so much harder to do so from the bench than it is to be actually on the pitch. So maybe that's one of those things, right? Because this is the same group. This is majority the same group. Obviously with some players that have gone, but I don't know. That's the frustrating part because, and even watching it live was even more frustrating because you felt the energy from the players, from the press box, and you just felt the frustration that they didn't have an answer. Like Toluca made life impossible for America in the defensive side of things. They played their game to a T, and America just could not respond. And what was even more frustrating though was I had the Toluca people right next to me the whole time. And I just had to hear them screaming and yelling and shouting the whole time. And I was just like, great, this is unbearable. We got America out here on the pitch with no answers and losing. And I got Toluca over here already celebrating. So it wasn't fun. But I don't know. Throughout my whole ride back home after that game, I just was thinking to myself, why couldn't we find an answer? Why couldn't anyone be the game changer? You know, you had Fidalgo on the pitch. You had Brian, who was looking good. You had Sendejas, obviously, who's on a roll. But still, even then, with those players out there, you felt like there just wasn't a player out there that was going to kind of take the ball and do some individual brilliance and get us back into this game.
No, yeah, 100%. And the second goal that was the one before halftime, right?
Yeah, that was the corner kick right before halftime.
Yeah, and stoppage time, right? Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I look, at some of the subs. It's hard to tell. Zuniga was put in there. Gutierrez was put in there too. Kevin, was put out there. Violante came out. I don't know if it's too early to really kind of see what kind of impact these guys are going to have. Going forward in the season. But it's just frustrating all out. Especially again because we lost another title to Toluca. I think that's what makes this even more frustrating. Is that you lose the Tetra, and now you lose Campeón de Campeones. Like, it's just, I feel like it was Toluca just kicking us while we're down.
Absolutely. And what makes it even worse is that they completely ridiculed in that sense because you strip us away from a Tetra Campeonato, right? Which would have been glorious and historic. You strip us from a chance at a bicampeonato, the Campeón de Campeones, and then you still strip us of another opportunity to be a bicampeón in the Campeones Cup. All of that gone, just like that, because Toluca decided, like, hey, we're going to beat you, and you're not going to have an answer to our corner kicks. And literally, that's it. For some reason, America's Achilles heel continues to be corner kicks.
Corner kicks, yeah.
Like, Jesus, how 3 years, and we still don't have an answer for this.
That's like, what are we doing in training?
Absolutely.
We'll spend 5 minutes on this, and
yeah, like, are we working on other stuff? Like, he's probably working on, like, I don't know, goal kicks instead of corner kicks. Honestly, I have no idea. But that is the frustrating thing about it, is the fact that this is a team that is starting to become very two-dimensional. You can read it on a piece of paper so easily that we need to evolve. We need to find ways. And obviously this falls on Jardine, but it also falls a little bit on the board to bring him the players in order to adapt and to evolve and all that good stuff. And, I have 2 cents in regards to that aspect. But ultimately, this was a game, like you mentioned, it was perfect for us to get revenge after losing a finals to Toluca. We don't. We ridicule ourselves. And obviously the tabloids are running with the fact that, America in crisis, yet another fracaso, another failure in the so-called dynasty era of Las Águilas del América. And rightfully so, right? I'm not saying that those tabloids are completely wrong. And look, as much as we praise their glory and as much as we rubbed it in everybody's faces, now it's time to kind of face the consequences when our team doesn't perform. And now we have to take on those hardships and those ridicules, because they're right. At the end of the day, the result doesn't favor America. The result doesn't show America winning. They can run with whatever narrative. At the end of the day, they still have that to hold against us. And it's unfortunate, but it is the case. And I guess it's one of those things that we have to kind of power through. But honestly, Dylan, and this might just me being a little bit ungrateful with what America has done, but I feel like we haven't lived through such a bad moment in America history that, at least as far as we have been doing the podcast, I don't think we've lived moments like this. We've lived moments where we don't make it to the final, we get knocked out in the Liguilla. That all feels a lot more different than what we're living and experiencing right now, right? Everyone's calling it the Tetra Campeonato of failures for America right now. 4 consecutive big major matches lost, and now, I don't know, it's hard to feel any other way.
No, yeah, it's definitely a spot that has definitely been a gut punch to the fan base. Like you said, Ivan, it's a lot of failure. I think we can agree upon that. It's definitely going to leave a dirty spot on the dynasty, depending on how it plays out in these coming years and everything. But it's just weird how it's just came like this. Like I said, like it's just been a punch, to the gut, and you just kind of wonder, where did it all of a sudden go wrong? Like it doesn't make any sense to me. Like I really want this to be studied somehow, and just be like, this is where we're wrong. Like he pointed out to me, and kind of tell me
Yeah,
where
and
it doesn't make sense.
I'm sure we could go back and we could have our hypothesis on when and where things started to turn south for America, right? And maybe a lot of people would say the fact that we got rid of Quiñones so early on, obviously it was good money that we haven't seen again. And probably went all the way to the Estadio Azteca refunding. Maybe it was there. Maybe it was when we lost Richard, turn of tide of events of this and that. But, you mentioned something that kind of resonates with me. The fact that you're saying that this is, a very unfortunate moment for the Americanismo. And Dylan, look, I was at the game and there was nothing but Americanismo there. Everybody was just, the vibes that were in and around the stadium were just Americanista all the way through. And don't get me wrong, there was a good amount of Toluca people, but nothing in comparison to the Sea of Yellow that I would see. And my TikTok feed has been nothing but of people posting their trip to Dignity Health Sports Park and all these familiar faces that were there and everything. And the atmosphere just felt so much as a home game that it makes me wonder, like, how can you sit there and be okay with letting all of your fan base down? Not just the people that went, but knowing that there is millions of other people watching at home and you still feel like you are on course with what you have done. It baffles me, right? Because I feel like as much as we want to point fingers at just one person, I feel like everyone has to take the blame for what happened on Sunday. Yeah. I'm talking the players, I'm talking coach, I'm talking board, and I'm talking the owner, Emilio Escarga. Everyone has a part to do with this. Or do you think I'm wrong?
No, yeah, 100%. And I think I'm going to go with this, Ivan. But I think it definitely starts at Emilio at this point. Because again, let's go back. What did he tweet? Literally, like what, the day, minutes after we lost the Tetra, or was it like the day after we lost the Tetra? That he recognized, where they fell short, and that it was going to be addressed. He seemed like he was making these promises, to the fan base that that it's gonna be better. We're gonna. He even said we're gonna build the grandeza, and yet since then and now, it feels like he's just been radio silent. Like nothing has been done. I mean, granted, no offense to like Gutierrez, Violante, and Zuniga who's come in, but it's just like, am I supposed to get excited over this? And I think I even said it too. I don't know if I've said it on the pod, but just I know in our group, Chris has asked, where would you address, the squad? And I said everything on the left, whether it be another left back or somebody to replace Brian and to make Brian the backup or vice versa, whatever. Nothing's exciting me right now, and it's frustrating because you feel like I said, you feel the fan base with promise, and you have yet to deliver, and time is closing. It feels like.
And look, someone interviewed him, I think, on Saturday. I don't know where he was at. It looked like at a concert or some type of venue, and talking about America and how, they asked him about Boang, and he said it's a long transfer window, but we're still going to find a way to, give the fans what they want and this and that. And I mean, honestly, it feels like he's saving face a little bit, but I mean, where's the results at the end of the day? It's look, I know we all want to point fingers at Baños, and look, this is not me scapegoating him or trying to save him in any way and shift any blame or any responsibility that he has on the lack of a good transfer window for America. But do we ever come and think, like, is he working with some restraints that we're not aware of? Like, is Emilio saying, look, you got 10 million to work with this transfer window. You sell more players, you can gladly have more money, whatever you get from that sell. But I'm not opening my checkbook for anything more. Yeah. And is that the thing? Is he having some restraints that we're not aware of and or at least not thinking about? Because at the end of the day, Baños isn't going and to Emilio and Emilio saying, look, you have a blank canvas on this checkbook. Whatever you need, here it is. Right? And I get it. That's not always going to be the case. I don't know, Dylan. If I'm Emilio Escarga, I just saw my team become tricampeonato, win a tricampeonato, potentially get a tetracampeonato. And now I know that I need to bolster this attack.
Exactly.
Like, okay, yes, I'm going to open the checkbook. Look, there's ways to go about it. I'm not saying let's just spend money and let's just throw money away, right? Yeah. That's not ideal. At the end of the day, this is still a business, but you have to respond, and you have to do it in the right way. You look at the rest of the league and the signings that they're making. For God's sakes, Pumas is getting Navas. And I'm not saying go and get those type of players, right? They're aging, they're on the decline already, but they're making big moves in that sense, and America isn't. I'm not saying go spend $15 million on a 38-year-old. By no means, that's not smart. But go spend $20 million on a 25-year-old that's gonna produce something, right? That's gonna be a good investment. And I think that's where we have to look at Emilio Escarga and say, are you holding this team back? Where's the money? Where has it gone? Where's all the money from Quiñones? Where's all the money from the stock market? Where's all the money from all these other sales? What's going on? What are we doing? Someone needs to check those R&D records and say, where's all this money going? Because there's no way that America can't spend $15 million on a Boanga because we don't have the money to throw like that right now. It makes no sense to me. And that is one thing that I think we do need to kind of credit and say, hey, maybe Baños is doing the best he can with like a budget of $8 million.
No, yeah.
And that's why we're getting the Alexis, the Zunigas, the Violantes.
Yeah, which then, I think, again, and I agree with you too, not trying to necessarily defend Baños or anything, but it makes more sense, and it makes things more understandable, from I think the fan perspective too, because I've called on it too before, even after Quiñones left. I was like, okay, like we don't need some Bambaso, just something sensible, that's going to make sense, that's going to, come in and make an impact too. And it's just something we haven't seen, and it's just one or two, if we can get like the Violante, like, okay, like we got him at whatever price, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's just like it just feels like they're telling me we couldn't go get somebody that's going to feel more impactful, because he started on the right, and I'm just like, well, kind of need the left more than the right at the moment. So
yeah. That's also one of those things, right, that you feel like is very frustrating after games like this, because you think, well, what's the owner doing? He's coming out and he's saying all these things, but where's the results? Where's the action? You can say all the right things, and at the end of the day, if you're not producing it, then all those words are just empty promises. And at the end of the day, this fan base deserves more.
And I feel like Sunday's loss, if we went down swinging, I feel like that the loss still would have hurt regardless, but it probably wouldn't hurt like it, or frustrate and hurt like it is right now. Just like we kind of mentioned earlier, seeing the team, just lose all type of momentum, you never gain nothing back. You never, really come close, probably more than once again. That's the frustrating part. If this team went down swinging, or if they happen to, tie it up and then that 70-minute goal, whatever it was, gets scored and we lose. I think we're still sitting here frustrated and hurt, but I don't think we're as frustrated.
Yeah, and to that, I have a bone to pick with Jardine. I feel like I'm not here to say that Jardine is in the hot seat, and I'm not here to say that let's fire him. I know there's a couple people out there that have said something to those, to those type of lines, but that's not what I'm here to say. But what I am here to say is that Jardine needs to find a way to evolve, even with what he has at the moment. Because you're not going to sit here and tell me that for 3 years straight, you have not been able to find an answer for corner kicks, right? And those substitutions that we always question, and sometimes we let go of those questions because we get the result, but we always ask ourselves, why are you throwing this late substitution? Or why are you throwing this very early substitution to close out the game with 20, 30 minutes left? Why are you, you're changing this player for that player? A lot of these questions need to be asked to Jardine now, in the moment. It's not to discredit anything that he did, right, with the Tricampeonato, with everything that he won, all those 6 years, all that stuff. That's great, that's wonderful. But Dylan, that's in the past, and you can't live in the past. You have to live in the future. You have to live in the present, excuse me. You can't live in the past. You have to live in the now. And right now, I just feel like Jardine has become just too predictable, in a sense. So much that Toluca played us 3 times, 2 times in a final, 1 time in a Campeón de Campeones Cup, played the same type of game, and Jardine wasn't able to find a way around it. Yeah. Toluca played the same thing for those 3 games, and Jardine was unable to find a solution around that. that's where I think we need to start asking the questions as to what's going on. I get it. It falls back to not enough signings, not the players that we need to kind of break down this defense and this and yada, yada, yada. But you've had 3 chances to go at this, and you're going to tell me that you still have not found a way around something like that? It's ridiculous, man.
Yeah, and it's frustrating too because it's not in a sense that, like, I think, like, oh, like, Hayden has brought the best out of them, time to move on. It's just like we've seen the best out of these players with Hayden, and in a way, like, we still do, but it's just like I just feel like now it's just like how do they even get more or get back to that level of what they're doing to go to that extra mile to break through to get back to the form that they were at, for that Campeonato run. I think that's what's frustrating too.
And look, I get it. Like, a coach can only do so much. At the end of the day, it does fall on the players as well. And some of these players have to go and look at themselves in the mirror and have an honest conversation with themselves and say, am I good enough to be here? If I'm not, then there's a door. And if I am, how do I get to that level again? Right? And that's a conversation that they need to have within themselves. And then Jardine needs to find the players that believe in the system, that believe in themselves, and that want to work to progress and get better. So at the end of the day, all of that just to say, it sucked to lose on Sunday. Absolutely gutted. I mean, you just felt the walk back to the car was a very sad one for everybody. And I left a little late, and there were still fans making their way to the car. It was a very. I got a hot dog, bacon wrapped hot dog, and I was the saddest person just by myself eating that. Mike Rosas passed by, and I think he kind of felt sorry for me. But it was just one of those things that, it was unfortunate, right? Because last year we were there covering the game, and America lifted the trophy. This time around, I don't know. It was just a very, very sucky feeling. And I know that a lot of people shared that same emotion. But, I mean, at the end of the day, if there's any kind of justice, hopefully America finds their way back next year again. And, they're able to lift that trophy and kind of right the wrongs of this one and give the fans just that much more of a happy feeling again. And shout out to all the fans, honestly, that went out, made the game just that much more amazing. Like I said, it felt like a true America home game. Shout out to, everybody that, took pictures and was part of our coverage. Again, we do this for you guys, and we're thankful that we're able to do this because of you guys. So it's always great to be able to go capture those moments. But unfortunately, we weren't able to capture the best one, which would, of course, have been America lifting the trophy. But it is what it is. And Dylan, I guess the season's still very early on, and we still have a long road ahead. I guess this is just one of those bumps in the road that we're going to have to quickly find a way to forget about and start moving on to the next one.
Yeah, which is like we kind of we'll talk about too. Nacaxa next, and then the Leagues Cup break. So
yeah, and that's the next big tournament, right? That we need to focus on, League Cup. So it's not like America gets really much of an opportunity to be like, okay, let's rinse this off and take our time to build back up. Gotta do it quickly. But yeah, coming up next, we're gonna be talking transfer news. We'll keep you guys up to date. Tonga, is he coming? Is he not? Javaito, is he leaving? Or is he staying? Is he leaving LA or is he staying in LA? We have all of that and more coming up in just a moment. Americanistas, today's episode is brought to you by Tom's Watch Bar, the official home of Club América in the United States. Every game this season will be streamed at Tom's Watch Bar. That's right, all the games, all the time, meaning you'll always have a place to catch our Águilas in action. So make sure to head over to your local Tom's Watch Bar to experience an America game like never before. Visit tomswatchbar.com/events for more information. Thank you to Tom's for sponsoring today's episode. Dylan, I want to say I could pause this, but I can't.
I'll
let it out. Whatever. Oh, it says pausing unavailable when a participant joined via mobile or Mac app. Well,
that's dumb.
It's good to know now.
Yeah.
I'm going to email them about that. Okay. All right. Let's talk transfer news. Dylan, that's what everyone's been wanting to talk about. That's what everyone's got on their mind after this Campeón de Campeones lost. America, are the reinforcements coming? We spoke about it a little bit in the past previous segment when we were talking about Campeón de Campeones. We went on a little bit of a tangent about Emilio Escarga not opening the checkbook and all that good stuff. But realistically, do you see America bringing in one or two, I'm not saying bombas, but kind of big names in order to salvage their mistakes of the past and and kind of put America back on course to be that ultimate giant?
Honestly, man, it has to be a no. I mean, I think we kind of touched on it too in a previous episode, but it's just the faith of the board's gone. It's gone for me. It's hard to trust it. Even with your point that you mentioned earlier too, with is Vinos working with a budget, that's not public knowledge, and we just don't know it. Or hell, did he even spend it on these past 3 players that we got? It's hard. I really want to say no, because it's just really hard for me to trust the board and trusting them to do that. I mean, you see the memes too, man. A lot of the fans say like we need a 9 and 10, and they just give Henry the 9 and Zedeas the 10 and say that, oh, there you go.
Dude, that's ridiculous, man. Like, I mean, it made me laugh, but at the same time, it made me kind of feel like, oh my gosh, is this really the course of action we're taking? Instead of actually bringing in a 9 and a 10, we're going to just resort to switching numbers and calling it a day. I mean, it's ridiculous. I personally want to believe that because of the ridicule, because of the embarrassment that it was to lose Campeón de Campeones, that América needs to find a way back. And Emilio Escarga is going to stop being so much of a penny pincher and say, look, I'm going to open the wallet a little bit more. How much is Boanga going to be? I do truly think that América is going to try to go in for Boanga. They're going to take it down to the last minute. I don't think LAFC is going to make it easy. I mean, he's their most impactful player. He's not going to be cheap, and he's not going to come very easily for América. But I do have my doubts about bringing in a player like that. Do I feel like we need to spend big money nowadays? Yes, absolutely. Look at the transfer market around the world. It's hard to penny pinch nowadays. Like, you need to be really smart about your negotiation and get the player really super early on and develop him, or you need to splash the cash. And if you're a big club, like we say América is a big club, then you're always going to get big club taxed. And you have to understand that. A lot of clubs understand that, right? And they try to go and work their way around it, but when they can't, they know that they have to open a checkbook. And this is those moments where, Dylan, we can't go around it anymore. We need to open the checkbook. Baño needs to do his part. He needs to negotiate. He needs to bring it down to a reasonable price. Emilio Escarga needs to then open the checkbook and say, done. As simple as that, right? And I get it. In negotiations, it's never that simple. It's not a FIFA game, but you need to find a way to get things done. Now, do I believe that we're going to get 2 names, right? And people are talking about Boanga and talking about Guido Rodriguez. No, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think we get 1 player and that's it. And this player better be good enough to kind of change a lot of things for América. Is that Boanga? I don't know. I don't think he's the answer to all of our problems. But then again, Dylan, I don't know what player is. I mean, unless you're going to bring in Cristiano Ronaldo or Ousmane Dembele, I don't see who's going to be that pivotal for us.
No, yeah, it's hard to say. But I mean, even with the Guido stuff, it's just kind of like really like, I don't think we really need the midfielder right now either. I mean, you could argue it, especially with how Richard left, but it's just it's not what I'm seeking either. So,
and let's be honest, we're not gonna find another Richard out there.
No.
Like what he brought to the table at times was very limited, but what he did bring to the table was a little bit of creativity, a little bit of pace, but most likely a really, really good long shot. And sometimes you need
he was not scared to rip it. He would rip it, man.
No, and you need that sometimes in games like this where a team is blocking you so low and teams sit back so deep that you need someone that's willing to rip it. That's why Guido Rodriguez is probably a really good candidate too. Another one of those players that's not afraid. I don't think he has the level of Richard Sanchez from 30 yards out. But again, digress. All of that to say, maybe we'll get Boanga. Maybe we'll get a player, but don't expect to. It's either going to be Boanga or it's going to be somebody else. I get it. The transfer window is still a very, very long one. We have until about September. But, Dylan, we've done this for 7 years now, and it seems like we always say the same thing, and we're always here at the end of the transfer window on deadline day talking, who are we getting, because we still haven't figured out anybody for the past 3 months.
11th hour.
Yeah, I expect it to go down all the way to the bottom, which sucks, Dylan. It sucks because
it's terrible.
We're like Jornada 12, and we're barely bringing in the last player. And
then it's just like, it takes like so long to to make an impact. So it's like, was this really worth it? And so it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part. We'll see, right? There's a lot of moving pieces in that sense as far as, who's going to be able to come in. I know everyone's talking Boanga. Don't hold your breath is what I'm saying. Expect a lot of stuff to happen within the next couple of weeks as far as, rumors and stuff like that. But don't believe everything that you see gets posted on Twitter. We'll try to weather out as much information as we can, and we'll try to put in our good faith, and whatever we tweet is what we think is official and what we think is reliable. And so always take everything with a grain of salt, but we do try to bring you guys the best and utmost reliable sources when it comes to these transfer rumors. So keep up to date with everything going on in the transfer market for America at Eagle Eye Podcast. And as far as people leaving the club, Javido is most likely going to stay at LAFC. He's been phenomenal for them. Scored in the Tráfico, the game against the Galaxy. He just looks like he's loving life in LA. And good for him. It's a system that suits him better, probably. I mean, Javido never really looked at home with America. And that's probably one of those things, too, that kind of doesn't help with making things happen. But I think Javido is the only one that we can expect to leave. A lot of rumors about Brian Rodriguez. Is he staying? Is he going?
Yeah.
He's your best attacker right now. I don't think America's going to let him go.
No. Again, should have brought in somebody a long time ago, but here we are.
Yeah, exactly. He's your only winger, too. Your only true natural winger. So you can't really let him go unless you have a suitable replacement. And after that, there hasn't really been any other rumors. I know some people asking whether or not Buffalo Aguirre is going to leave or Victor Davila is going to leave. I expect them to stay, right? Yeah. Nestor Araujo, unfortunately, looks like he's going to be staying another season. Honestly, I think with his wages and everything going on, America's going to have to just, kind of like the Roger Martinez situation, eat up that contract and just let it run out and just pray and hope that, it doesn't really eat you alive in the sense financially. Because honestly, no one's going to pay Nestor what we're paying him. And he doesn't want to leave anymore. Why would you? He's at that age where he doesn't need to play every game. So why is he going to go somewhere, make less money, and have to play more?
Yeah, exactly.
So from a player perspective, I just don't see it happening. But that's what I got as far as ins and outs. Do you have anything else?
No, I think that's pretty much it. I do wonder, and this is kind of off topic, and we can move off this. I wonder whatever happened to that was that Ledesma kid that was rumored to come to us like back in the winter, and then like just never happened. So that just like completely
was that the?
I think he was
that the kid from PSG?
No, not PSG.
No, PSV. Sorry.
PSV. Yeah,
I'll start with a P.
Yeah.
Well, he ended up going to Chivas. Remember?
No, I don't remember that. Okay, well.
Yeah, he ended up going to Chivas.
Well, I'm done. So that would just,
Yeah, it's okay. It happens. So many names get thrown around. Sometimes it's hard to keep track of everybody sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see what happens, guys. Like I said, don't hold your breath. It's still early on in the transfer window. If you guys have followed America for as long as we have, well, you guys know that no need to get excited. Wait until the end of the transfer window, and then maybe, just maybe, our team will try to salvage something. But all right, with that said, Dylan, I think we've covered everything in regards to the transfer window. Let's move on to our next segment, and let's talk America versus Nacaxa, or in this case, Nacaxa versus America, as we'll be traveling on the road for this one.
Oh boy, I don't know.
Boy, oh boy, indeed.
Oh, Aguas Calientes, here we come.
Yep. Who's the that famous lady that's now gonna be in that show with Ryan Reynolds about Nacaxa? What are they called? Who is she?
Oh, Evelyn Longoria?
Yes, thank you. So she's, I'm sure, gonna be at the game. I'm sure they're probably filming season 2 right now of this whole. Season 1 already is coming out, so I'm assuming season 2's... Dylan, season 1 is probably going to be us losing at home to them on Valentine's Day. Yeah. God, that episode's going to be terrible. But yes, America travels to Aguascalientes to kind of close out July for Liga MX. It's going to be the third game of the season for Las Águilas. It's Jornada 3 for us. And honestly, Dylan, this is another one of those must-win games. And it's going to be a difficult one. I mean, we've never really liked going away to Aguascalientes. It's never an easy game by any means necessary. And this Necaxa team only seems to be getting better. I mean, obviously the expectation is win, but how comfortable can we be for this matchup?
I don't think we're going to be comfortable. I mean, technically, I know this is the league, but technically we've seen kind of a 3 split of this team. We've seen the Juárez game was a draw. I mean, it seems like we, if I remember correctly, won pretty, comfortably against Tijuana, and then just disappeared, Sunday against Toluca for Campeón de Campeones. I don't really know what to expect because we kind of seen 3 different sides of this America squad.
Yeah, and I guess it doesn't help that it's All-Star Weekend, or All-Star Week, excuse me, not All-Star Weekend, All-Star Week. So our coaches isn't going to be available to manage this team for a couple of days. Sendejas, Brian Rodriguez, and Israel Reyes are not going to be with the squad for majority of this week as well.
Right.
So again, this is one of those things where you're just thinking, great, another hurdle that America has to get over. And it's, it's not like Necaxa has a bunch of players out, right? They're sitting at home thinking, great, this is awesome. We're going to do our thing, wait for America to get here with tired players and a defeat against Toluca on their mind. We're just going to try to pick them apart that way. I think this is where we come back and we want to see that kind of a mental strength of this squad, right? How do they get themselves back up after a beating? Not necessarily now, how do you respond after conceding the goal? It's how do you respond after a loss like that, right? It was big. It was huge. And, a couple players came out and said, we're going to do our best. We're going to try to get back to our winning ways and yada, yada, yada. And anyone can say the right things. At the end of the day, can you provide those results on the pitch? Nacaxa is a big game in that sense. So go out there and prove it, right? I think we have a bone to pick with them. After the way we lost them at home last season. Obviously, we want to get our leg back in that sense. But I feel like this America side needs to start evolving, and this is the game to do so. I'm not saying let's 100% play with all our tactics here, but let's just kind of be mindful and not try to be so predictable.
No, yeah, and again, for me too, it's just, remind me, Ivan, who is going to be missing again from the squad?
For this game against Nacaxa?
Yeah.
So it's going to be Igor Lichnowsky, who's out with a red card because of that in the Campeón de Campeones matchup. So he's got to serve that game right away. Henry might see minutes, but expect him to be on the bench for majority of the match. But after that, it should be a full squad. Brian Rodriguez, Sendejas, and Isra will be, a little bit gassed, but I don't expect Jardine to play them that much for Campeón de Campeones. For the All-Star game. After having participation in Campeón de Campeones and having to play against Nacaxa and all that good stuff. So those are the only two players that are going to be out. Well, 1.5, right? Because Henry's still questionable. But everyone else is still available.
Okay, yeah. So, just kind of coming back to where you were kind of talking about too. I guess we're going to really see what Jimenez is made of this season too. From this point out, we're 1-0-1, besides the loss that we just had to Toluca, so silver lining, we're still haven't lost this season yet.
In the league, yeah.
Yeah, in the leagues. But I think, this is going to have to be where, like you kind of said, where he evolves. I think this is really going to be the test of, knowing who Jimenez is. Regardless, I think we can look back and realize the good he's done for the club. Not saying that, but I think we also, like he kind of mentioned, see where he takes his squad. How does he evolve as a coach, with his tactics and I think his substitutions too. Another great point that we've kind of always questioned, especially last season. But where's he going to grow? Where's he going to take the squad from here? What kind of magic can he do with a team that he has made magic with before? But how does he change the ingredients to get it back to what it once was?
Yeah, right. It's I guess, to use a cooking term, it's going back into the kitchen and trying to, reevaluate your formula and get a better result. And look, by no means is America in a very terrible position, right? We're just kind of sucker punched, and we need to find our way out of this rut. And the only way to do that is by winning games. Look, Nacaxa is not an impossible task. It's a very winnable game. And actually, if you're looking at it on paper, it's one of those games where you're thinking it's 3 points that you have to secure. And I'm looking at the rest of the calendar, right? Obviously, you have Leagues Cup coming up after this, so we're not really going to talk too much in regards to that sense. But when you come back after Leagues Cup, you have Querétaro, which is probably another one of those 3-pointers that you would assume America gets. But after that, the season starts kind of picking up for America. You have to go up against Tigres. You have to go up against Atlas. Both of those away games, by the way. It's not easy in that sense. So you need to rack up the points, and you need to find a way to continue to get this early cushion, right? You dropped 2 points against Juarez, and we mentioned how bad of a situation that is for America. Now you have to go and vindicate yourself and get those other 3 points, so that way you stay very much high at the table and you have these points as cushion as the season progresses. So again, Nacaxa, a very important game, a very manageable game. It won't be an easy one by any means, but again, very winnable if you do the right things. And in order to do the right things, Dylan, I think Jardine needs to put out the most competitive team available, which is most likely going to be Malagon in net, which I know a lot of people have been criticizing him, me specifically, but I won't bash him just yet. Give him a couple more games, but if he's starting to, again, concede more goals, then I'm starting to think, shouldn't be going in. We're going to have a real discussion about Malagon. But Malagon in net, I'm guessing because of this youngster rule thing, Dagoberto on the right, working on the left, Ramon Juarez, and not Ramon Juarez, excuse me. It's going to be Sebastián Cáceres and Israel Reyes as a center back partnership. In the midfield, we're most likely going to see Alan Cervantes, Chiquito, and Fidalgo. On the left, Brian. On the right, Sendejas. And up top, honestly, I want to see Zúñiga start. He looks hungry. He looks like he really wants to score. He's running like crazy. And he's showing me more effort than Buffalo Aguirre. So I put Zúñiga in. Other than that, what do you think?
No, I think that's a good starting 11. We'll obviously see how the game progresses to see what kind of subs made. So I like that starting 11.
Okay, I like it too. I think that's more or less Jardin's ideal starting 11. Very comfortable. The only thing is we lose Igor Lichnowsky, which kind of gives me a little bit of fear with aerial balls, corner kicks, set pieces, all that good stuff. Lichnowsky is very good to be the first one to get to that ball before an attacker does. So with him out, that does leave me a little bit of worries. But Sebastián Cáceres has proven that he's capable of doing it. Israel Reyes, though, is where I think we're a little bit shaky. But other than that, I think defensively we're solid. In the midfield, very much creative with Fidalgo at the helm of it. And, Brian Rodriguez just needs to continue to get the ball. He's on form. He's on fire just as much as Sendejas is. So utilize them. They both have to be creative. They both have to be influential in the final third. And Zúñiga, if he does get the opportunity, don't waste it. Keep hustling. I'm not saying that you need to score a hat trick, but show the effort. It goes a long way. Just look at Henry Martin. How many times did we, say, no, he didn't score at all, but boy, did he put him in a shift. He put a great performance in. That's what we want to see at the end of the day, right? What can you produce for the rest of your teammates rather than what are you just going to do for yourself? At the end of the day, this is a collective game, not an individual one. So I do think that this game is, again, sound like a broken record here, very winnable, very manageable, and important that America kind of closes out this little league break before going into Leagues Cup, because you're going to need momentum. You're going to need to find that winning spirit again, and you're going into a competition that in the past 2 years hasn't led to anything positive, right? With the way that you've been knocked out. And so win against Necaxa, shift focus to Leagues Cup. And then hopefully when we're talking about Leagues Cup, when we're breaking these games down and we're seeing an America play, it's a much more competitive, a much more happier team than we've seen in these past couple of weeks.
No, yeah. And I mean, like I said, this could be a key point in the season. There's been a lot of things too. Whenever I've said in the past, especially when it came to Conca, these last two Conca tournaments, even it felt like Leagues Cup. I feel like these tournaments, aside from the league, I feel like our league form has been better than these tournament participations, and so I feel like this is a great start. Not going to say great start to the season, but it's better than losing and dropping points at this rate. It's key, to get 3 points, obviously, but I just hope that that momentum stays at the forefront, to where, this league form keeps some type of consistency.
Yeah, we need to build some traction. At the end of the day, we said the most important title of the season was going to be the league. And then next year, obviously, it's going to be CONCACAF Champions Cup, but that's a conversation to have next year, not right now. So let's just focus on the present, right? And then, like I mentioned, you can talk about the history all you want, but at the end of the day, you don't live in the past, you live in the now. And right now, America needs to start picking up those points. It needs to start kind of rebuilding themselves, gaining momentum, building traction, and hopefully end the league at a good point and start Leagues Cup off and running. We'll see what happens. Predictions for Saturday's matchup. What do you got going on, Dylan?
I don't know. I'm still kind of nervous and not knowing what we're going to get from this team considering the past 3 matches. But I do agree with you, Ivan. I think it's winnable, but I think it's going to be just a barely winnable game. I think it's going to be 1-0.
1-0. I'm loving that because we get a clean sheet. And this defense needs a clean sheet. Malagon needs a clean sheet, by the way. He is desperately in need of a clean sheet. So I do think that, that would be bonus points. 1-0. I'm liking it. I don't know if I'm loving it. Maybe at the end of the game I will be loving it because it's 3 points. But I agree with you. I don't think it's going to be one of those games where América just runs over Nacaxa. It's going to be very tricky. It's going to be difficult. But I do think that there is going to be avenues for América to explore. They will be able to exploit some of the spaces left open on the wings. Brian Rodriguez, again, is going to be very crucial to that. So I do think that if América can start off the game good, get an early-ish goal, by that I mean score within the first 15 minutes, I think América can walk away with this one 2-1. So I'm going with 2-1.
Why did you didn't go with a clean sheet?
I don't have faith in Malagon right now. So.
Do you have faith in Cota if he started?
I don't have faith in any goalkeeper right now for some reason. Just until Ochoa finds a home, I guess that's when I'll start regaining faith again. But, we'll see what happens. Hopefully they can shut me up. Obviously, when Malagon's in form, it's great for us. I mean, it's just more security at the back. So we'll see what happens. This game is going to be, though, on Tu DN. You guys can catch this game on Tu DN. And VIX as well is going to be at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's going to be a late one for everyone. 8 p.m. on a Saturday. 10 p.m. for you, Dylan, and for all our friends over in the East Coast, it's going to be at 11 p.m. at night. But the great thing about it is that if for whatever reason you don't want to be at home watching this one, you can always go to Tom's Watch Bar, have a drink, have some food, have some good time, and enjoy the night. So again, game's going to be on Tu DN.
Actually, it's gonna be at 8 for me because I'll be on vacation this week, seeing family in Las Vegas. So.
Oh well, there you go, 8 o'clock, and guess what? There's a Tom's Watch Bar in Las Vegas. So if you want to go catch the game there
we go.
There you go. Absolutely amazing. Shout out to Tom's Watch Bar again. If you guys don't remember, the official home of Club América in the United States for this season. All the games, all the time. Yeah, let's hope, again, for a really good one, a really good game, a really good matchup. 3 points is all we need. And hey, Dylan, how much happier are you going to be gambling after América wins?
might go put a little 20 on América winning.
There you go. Hopefully, hopefully it's on your side and things pan out in that sense. But with that said, Dylan, I think we've pretty much covered everything here.
Yeah, I think we're good. I think we hit it all.
Absolutely. Hey, next week we'll be talking Real Salt Lake for Leagues Cup, and we got some special guests coming on as well. So we're going to have some RSL folks on the podcast. That should be fun. That should be great. Well, I love Leagues Cup. We get to transcend borders in this sense and go talk to other people that do this stuff for fun as well. So should be fun. Should be great. And yeah, hopefully we end July on a good note for the league and start Leagues Cup even better. All right, with that said, Dylan, thank you so much for taking your time. It's been great. Have fun in Las Vegas. Send us a lot of pictures and gamble a lot on América.
I sure will, Ivan.
All righty then. Thank you to everyone listening, to everyone watching. We'll be back next week to talk all things Club América. Until then, take care. And as always, arriba la América. Good night.
Ladies and gentlemen, this was another production of the Eagle Eye Podcast. The #1 source for all things Club América in English. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Eagle Eye Podcast and get all the latest news and coverage. And subscribe to our podcast wherever it is you may listen.